You know what? Do you know what I don't understand, Nick? It's like 5 o'clock right now, and we intended to start the show like a half hour ago and get this shit recorded and everything. Like, why are we waiting around? I mean, we've been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks for.
I'm just where is Danny? She needs to be here. Where is she?
I don't know. I mean, she's been on vacation at the beach. It's annoying. I don't know if we can do this shit without Danny anymore, Nick. I really don't. Like, I'm actually worried.
You know what? Fuck it.
What?
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Boom the bass like this, it's like this, it's like this, it's like
Hi everybody, it's Jonathan and Nick here from Radio Tokyo. Danny is actually not here. Sorry to get your hopes up. Like Nick and I had planned to do that lead in when she was here and confuse and scare everybody. But also, Bill O'Reilly, we love you. Thank you for the inspiration for that.
No, we don't. We hate you.
Shut up, Nick.
Shut up,
Nick. Shut up, Nick. But no, Danny is not here. She's at the beach again. She's promised to be here next week. So, assuming she's going to be here, I'm saying so. I don't know why. I probably shouldn't. And we actually had our hopes up this week, but I'm thinking next week we may have our special guest, and I think because we're inching closer to that point in time, I think I'll go ahead and mention who it is. Nick.
Yeah.
By the way, how are you today?
I'm all right. I'm okay.
No one cares, Nick. Shut up. Okay.
Anyway,
this we have to say it, Nick. Anyway, okay. Special guest is going to be on our episode. We're going to talk about toys. Yes, I know. How the mighty have fallen. Not really. No, really. There's a lot of adult collectors who have a lot of toys. Like, I consider myself an adult collector, but I don't, put everything up on a pedestal and I'm like, and freak out about it. I've got a lot of Transformers. I play with them. I actually have some Nerf guns right here. Hear that? That's a Nerf gun. Okay. I play with my toys. And there's a guy that I've watched on YouTube for quite a while, and I've even got Nick to watch him. His real name is Brandon, but he goes by the name Joshua Damu. He collects Gundam figures, especially the MSIA figures, and he does reviews of them, and he actually runs an eBay store for it. And I've been talking with him for a while now about being a guest on the show. And we're going to do a show about action figures and dolls and toy lines and stuff like that, so expect some pretty geeky moments about action figures and Barbie dolls that Nick still plays with and whatnot.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with playing with dolls.
There's actually not. There really isn't, and I'm sorry to anyone, who works at Target, who is listening to this, or anyone who works at Target in general, but fuck you. Seriously. Fuck you for not having already done the genderless toy thing. Why did it take you so long, Target? But like honestly, really, anyone who's pissed off at Target for for doing that, what the deal, yo? What the deal? I was actually listening to, believe it or not, Fox News. I hate Fox News, but I was listening to their reaction to this, and according to Fox News, kids will be confused and adults will be confused.
Why? I don't understand this. It's a toy. If your kid likes the toy, let them play with the toy.
Exactly. It's a toy. What does it matter? I mean, kids don't come into the world hating everybody or being afraid of everybody. It's only after they're taught that. I mean, that's kind of a proven fact. Now, let's just assume, that this is, a religious thing and they're afraid, of, going against what's in the Bible. That's fine. My question is, do
Yeah.
you eat shrimp?
Well, no. Well, my question is, what is in the Bible about toys?
Nothing that I know of. Now, I do know that it does mention more than once, about how it is men are supposed to act, women are supposed to act. That's fine. I get that. I'm all in favor of that. But where in there does it say that a child is not supposed to, to be inspired to have an imagination or, to do whatever they want to do? I mean, personally, I think that would be a successful thing. Now, the problem, bringing religion into this is, we're talking about doing an episode about toys in the future, and there is that famous line in the Bible, where it says, "When I became a man, I put away childish things." Clearly, society has fallen away from that concept, and that's why we're doing the the show about toys in part. By the way, Brandon, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know you are a minister. I am so sorry. I am not trying to trash Christianity. Anyway, treading dangerous waters here, Nick.
Already trying to scare our guest off already.
I know he's he's a, he's a really good guy. And I think, actually, when we do get him on here, that might be a good thing to bring up. I don't know. But
Maybe.
I don't. Anyway, it's insane. I mean, like, I'm all in favor of a little boy, a little girl playing, with whatever toy they want to. It's a toy. It doesn't matter. I grew up in a house full of sisters. I have one brother and three sisters, and I grew up in a house with more girl toys than there were boy toys. And you know what? Nothing's wrong with me because I played with girl toys or whatever you want to call a girl toy. Now it's fine.
Me personally, I was an only child for a long time, but my cousins, all of my cousins for a very long time were girls. So when I would go over to play at their house, I would play with their toys with them, and it was never a big deal to me. It just wasn't. I was just having fun with my cousins.
I know. I mean, like, I don't get this obsession with, pink is for girls and blue is for boys. 100 years ago, that was the opposite direction. Now, see, most everyone knows the name Florence Nightingale, but what everyone doesn't seem to realize is that when Florence was born, Florence was supposed to be a male child, and her father had chosen the name Florence because that was a man's name, and he did not want a little daughter. And turns out he had a daughter, and his idea was basically, fuck it, we'll do it live. Her name is Florence, and that's how that began. I mean, we're talking less than 200 years ago. Times change, people change. It's like now, like the whole reason we do our show, Nick, and everyone listening, is because we like all this cool shit. Like, we like toys, we like video games, board games, books, movies, comics, stuff like that. But 15, 20 years ago, when I was in school, I got picked on. I got picked on for it. I know a lot of people that are in our age range who got picked on for it. But now it's the cool thing. Times
Yeah.
change. I'm sorry. I really don't want to get political here, but things change and society needs to progress and advance. That's the only hope we have. I'm sorry, anyone who says they're conservative. I'm from Texas. I was raised being told to be conservative, but I'm at the point in time where I'm like, no, things need to change, man. Come on, just let go, let it go, let it go. I'm gonna stop singing the song. I promise. I
Please
promise.
stop.
I'll
Please
quit.
stop. No, stop.
Actually, speaking of Frozen, Nick, have you seen the gallery that I posted on our Facebook page yesterday? I think.
I think
No. Today. It was today.
the one about removing the makeup.
Yeah.
I it's an interesting concept, but when I look at the pictures, uh, I think they go maybe a little too far to make them look a little bit odd. Like, when they remove the eyeliner, they don't put any eyelashes on them at all, and I think it was either Snow White or Sleeping Beauty or one of them where they completely removed her eyebrows at the same time.
That would be Snow White. Now, see, here's the thing. Here's the thing that bothers me. By the way, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't remember the person's name who did this. No. Snow White is nightmare fuel now.
She really is. She
I'm
just
I'm 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 sorry. I'm really sorry. Like I'm not trying to say being natural beauty is a wonderful thing.
well,
Is a bad thing.
no,
It's not. It's not.
the problem is they don't look natural. They don't. It,
Elsa actually does. Elsa
yeah,
actually looks good. She looks damn good.
a
In
few of
fact,
the
you could make
pictures,
an argument that she looks better.
a few of the pictures look really good. I think Mulan looked really good. There were a couple of them, but
Pocahontas looks
it
good.
yeah,
Jasmine looks good. Ariel
yeah.
looks good. Like all of them do. But like
But
really, what I would
it was Snow White, and there was one more. They just looked horrible.
hon- honestly, really, like all of them, I can see good points, I can see bad points, whatever. But with Snow White, I really have to draw the line, there's actually two reasons why. One is my reason for her staying the same, and the other one is the I guess artist is the appropriate word, reason for changing the design. Now, my reason for her staying the same is Snow White was described as being naturally beautiful. She was described with having, like paler colored skin, rosy cheeks, ruby colored lips, just like, and, thick eye. She was described as being beautiful. Okay. Like how she looked, the way she was drawn by Disney artists was supposed to be a natural thing for her. Instead, what happened is, and this is my reason against changing her here. Uh, well, I'm sorry. Th- This is the artist reason for changing her. Um, what the decision was in their mind was to try and make Snow White look how she would look if she did not fit into the the fashion style for women in the 30s when the movie came out, and that was shaving your eyebrows off and penciling them in and removing the rouge on your cheeks and everything else. So that's why she looks like she does. Like that was the decision to go that far. And honestly, it really doesn't look right. Uh, I read a comment on the initial article when I saw it. It says she looks like she has alopecia or cancer and is wearing a wig. Now, I'm absolutely not saying that a woman with, cancer or a man with cancer who's losing their hair and wearing a wig looks bad. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that I think it was a decision to alter a character that questionably didn't need to be altered. Okay, like there was nothing there that was additionally added on purpose. It was supposed to have been natural for her.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. It, I really like some of these ideas, concepts, especially because we do make things unrealistic or set expectations so high that they just people would never be able to really achieve that in real life. But sometimes I feel like they go too far at the same time.
One of my favorite alteration galleries I've ever seen was the person who did the body types and made them, with like actual natural looking waistlines. Some of them look a little odd to see them,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's a good odd. It's not like seeing, this character is like, oh, no, why? It's like, look, it's seeing them, and just the realization of, hey, that actually does look better. The
Yeah.
one,
I mean, I find that often a natural look does look a lot better than the superfluous look that we often see.
there was two specific ones that I happened to notice the most. One was again Elsa. Uh, like when you see her, she's either ramrod straight, or she has this kind of like slight curve to her back, and like around the small of her back and the top of her thighs, whatever, it curved. This gave her a more natural body shape, and it looked fantastic. The other one that stuck out to me was Belle. She just looked better. They really did. Now, keep in mind, again, I'm not saying, ladies, like, I can't control how you want to appear yourself. I mean, how you want to appear, and I understand that for a lot of people,
We're not saying you look bad skinny. We're just saying that the extreme hourglass figure is unnatural and it doesn't look right.
Well, see, like, actually, what I was going to say is that's my perspective and Nick's perspective. Okay, like what we say, that may not be what you like. Do what you like. Like that's like that was what I said earlier. About having toys and stuff like that. Be you. That's the most important thing. As long as you're happy, as long as you're healthy, we're all good. But like,
just
that's honestly,
don't try to cinch your abdomen into like a toothpick, because that's never a good thing.
but that was, honestly, I think that was the whole purpose of these galleries, was to get people thinking about what it is people do to themselves and how it is we view certain things.
Well,
And
no,
honestly, looking at
it used to be a problem in England back when they were doing, all the women used to wear the corsets. They would purposely try to create that kind of hourglass figure, and it created a lot of health problems for them. So a lot of what our modern art and fairy tales, Disney, things like that, it's still based off of that idea of the woman's abdomen being kind of sunk in, and it's a problem. A lot like what was it, the Japanese women, when they would purposely break their feet when they were young and try
that was
to.
Chinese women, I think, wasn't it?
I can't remember if it was Chinese or Japanese. I know they're completely different cultures and everything, but I believe it was Japanese women. But yeah, yeah, there's been some very, very bad things in history that have not been good for women.
Speaking of bad things in history that are not good for women or for men, Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four was, and despite what Jonathan thinks, it is still not good. It's not good.
Have you seen it, Nick?
I've seen enough of it. I've seen enough of it.
Well, see, here, okay, like, I think it's good that I did, the two reviews of it yesterday, and it's kind of awesome that you're on the show and we can actually discuss this now. I watched it, and honestly, it was long and it was boring. Like it was only like an hour and a half long, I think. But I remember at one point in time looking at my phone and I saw something that said it was a text message or something. Anyway, I'd gotten an hour before, according to my phone, and I looked at it and I was like, "Holy shit! It's only been an hour." It's really really slow in the beginning. Like it's really really slow. It takes so long to get to them getting their powers, and then when they have them, that's maybe 30 minutes out of the movie. Like it's 30 to 45 minutes is them with their abilities, and they only fight Victor Von Doom for maybe 20 minutes out of that.
The problem with the movie is it's really only one arc out of the 3 arcs that a narrative is supposed to have. It's really just the beginning. It completely skips the second act, and then it rushes the third act at the end. This is oddly a movie that would actually benefit from being longer.
Well, see, from what I understand, it was supposed to be closer to 3 hours. It was supposed to be really long.
They actually, from one of the reports that I read, they never filmed the ending.
There actually was an ending that was filmed, but it's clearly not the one you have in the movie. It's not even the one that we had hinted at in the trailers for it either.
Hold on, I'm trying to look at this article I have because I was reading about it earlier.
There were several scenes that were actually filmed and they were supposed to be in the movie, but they weren't done because the editors took them out for like literally took them out of the movie because they didn't like them. It's also the reason why Kate Mara's hair, which I didn't notice it personally, but having heard this mentioned, I started to think about it. It makes sense. It's why her hairstyle changes so much.
Well,
it's
actually,
also why the color of her hair changes so much.
They use doubles.
No, this was actually her.
Listen. This is a report about the filming of the movie. Those reshoots have been blamed for the poor quality of Fantastic Four, but the movie apparently didn't even have an ending when shooting concluded. Simon Kinberg and Hutch Parker scrambled to come up with something, but the former's busy schedule and the fact that much of the cast was unavailable led to a lot of material was shot with doubles, and the production moved to Los Angeles to film scenes with Teller against the green screen. It was chaos, says a crew member, adding that Trank was still in attendance but was neutralized by a committee.
See, I haven't heard anything or read anything until now saying that a lot of it was just edited on. But like what you see when it's generally Kate Mara on film.
Well, it explains a lot of the problems, because if that's true, if they didn't finish shooting originally, the third act, it explains why the third act is rushed so much, and it explains some of the poor quality, like you were saying, where the actors look, a little bit different, or there are things off, like the hair and things like that.
There is a scene. I'm not gonna give full details here, but Mr. Fantastic has ran away. Okay. You know what? Fuck it. We'll do it live. I cannot talk about this without discussing the plot. So if you watched or listened to rather the episodes from yesterday where I talked about it, spoilers, even more spoilers. Be warned. Like, be fair warned. I'm fixing to rip this movie apart like a Dilophosaurus did to Dennis Nedry.
Because you should, because it's terrible.
It's okay, like, understanding that it's Ultimate Fantastic Four, I like it, okay? I can live with that. What I can't live with is the production errors. Like, I'm sorry, I can't overlook that. One of the things that I cannot overlook in addition to that, is just the way certain characters are presented. And the scene that I want to talk about is Mr. Fantastic having ran away from a government building because, for some reason, the these Fantastic Four were coaxed into being helped, cured by the government in addition in return for doing favors for them. And what that was basically bringing democracy to other countries. And by bringing democracy, I mean instilling puppet governments of the United States. Ben Grimm was often sent on these quote unquote covert missions that were always covered in local newspapers and on TV and everything because it was kind of hard to miss, a 6 foot tall rock man. But uh, there was footage shown from several missions where he was sent, and they had the kill total on there. So Ben Grimm was basically forced by the government to murder people because the government wanted him to, because they promised him a cure, which they could not give him. There was no way to give him a cure. And now I realize that is something directly from the comic books, but just seeing it in the movie makes it worse. It makes it 10 times worse because there's someone having to actually act that out. And Ben's personality completely, like you can see the alteration. Not only is he like a foot and a half taller as the Thing, but his eyes are much sad. Like his eyes give away, what he was actually thinking, and it's depressing. It really is. I've never been depressed by Ben Grimm until now, and I understand why in the comic books, the storyline for the Fantastic Four, where they went to heaven to get him back. I understand now why he was like, "No, I want to stay here. I'm better off here."
Yeah, I mean, the Ultimate Fantastic Four was an interesting retake, as much as the Ultimate Universe was. There's a lot of cool stories. There's a lot of cool things that happened, but not all of them were received well or thought of that great, or thought of as that great. And Fantastic Four was one of them that did not do well. In fact, I believe Marvel canceled it. It was one of the first Ultimate series to get canceled. And it's kind of an odd twist because the Fantastic Four have always been such a kind of happy-go-lucky super team, I would say. I can get past them being dark or, a little more gritty or things like that, but if you're going to do that, you have to do it well. You have to portray it well. And this movie just has so many problems from a production, from a storytelling standpoint. Just there's a lot of things that they need. This movie needed to do better, and I kind of feel bad for the actors, really, because I think they actually did a pretty good job. In general, I don't think they were, bad at what they were doing, really. This is a case of a director really messing up a movie, if you ask me.
See, honestly, it wasn't so much the director as much as it was the studio. It like Fox Studios.
No. This one was actually the director. He was
No, wait, it wasn't, and there's a reason for it. The movie he did before this, which I think was his first movie, he and the producers, whatever,
it's generally considered really good.
Yeah, they were given basically free range to do whatever they wanted to do, and he was told, like, the idea behind him doing this movie was he was told that by Fox that he was going to have the same free range to do whatever he wanted to do. He could alter the characters. He could do whatever the hell he wanted to do, even with these very heavily pre-established characters that have been around, for 50 years. Uh, he could put his own spin on it, and that would be fine. And they would give him a much, much higher budget to do that. The problem was Fox, like seemingly everything else that they do, cannot keep their grubby hands out of the damn movie.
Ordinarily, I would agree with you on this, but I just have to tell you, this is one case where I actually side with the studio. I honestly think that this was not Fox's fault. Um, I really think that he messed up, and the reports I'm getting, or I've read about his job in directing, is that everyone hated him. The cast, he withdrew from everyone. I'll read you a few things here. He holed up in a tent and cut himself off from everybody. He built a black tent around his monitor. He was extremely withdrawn. He would go to his trailer and he wouldn't interact with anybody. During the takes, he would be telling cast members when to blink and when to breathe. He kept pushing them to make the performance as flat as possible. There was some incident where he wrecked the house he was renting. This is one case where I really don't think the studio was the problem here.
Well, I knew about him tearing up the house, and I was like, that's not really a good idea. But I mean, for the most part, it seems to be that there was a genuine rift between Fox and the director. And something else that I heard about it said that it was actually not just him, and it wasn't just Fox. It was the editing individuals, people who were in charge, for splicing all the cuts and everything, together to make an actual movie. They refused to let him in the room. Like, there's all these scenes he had planned, and when he found out they were like, it was scenes that had been planned and filmed, because they filmed for I think 72 days, which is really short for a movie like this. And then they had to go back and basically redo everything, which is why the plot is all but inconsistent now. They had to go back and specifically redo a bunch of stuff and just make stuff up because the editors would not let him have his input. And from what I understand, that was when he started, the I hate the world type emo reaction to it. But initially, he seemed to have been really in favor of doing a lot of the stuff. And Fox, would tell him, can you change this? Can you change that? And everything. And it's wound up being really a movie that I think probably does not deserve a sequel. And that's with me actually having an appreciation for it that is much greater than what I did initially. Still there?
Whoops, my mic was muted by accident. Sorry.
That's okay.
It clearly does not. It doesn't deserve a sequel, which is probably the strangest part of this movie, is that it is literally a build up to a sequel. I mean, I can't think of how to describe this movie in any other way than to say that it's literally building up to a sequel, and then it fails in that, and then we just don't get a sequel. Just from how bad it was.
It actually was even with all of the issues that were in the movie, when you go and see it, and don't misunderstand me here, it's actually a very, very flawed movie. It really is. But yes, it does lead to a sequel. It does. It ended like at every possible turn it says sequel, but no, we're not getting one. It's sort of like you have said repeatedly, the second Amazing Spider-Man. That was supposed to have a sequel, but now we're
Yeah,
not getting it because studio and director couldn't get along. They couldn't, come to terms with what they wanted to do. So instead, fuck it, we'll do it live.
yeah. Amazing Spider-Man is the perfect example of this all over again. Because in Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's obvious this was a build-up not only for a third Spider-Man movie, but for the Sinister Six, for stuff about Aunt May. They had all of these plans ready and ready to go, and they just couldn't do anything because they couldn't even get the transition movie correct. It's kind of confounding. It's almost baffling. It's how do you? uh, I get that you have all these plans that you want to do and all these things you want to sell and make, but first you have to take care of business. You have to take care of the first movie that you used to introduce this. This is the most important movie. Um, and again, this is why I'm worried, kind of worried about DC, and their movie universe and their plans and everything. Although their plans are much, much more elaborate, but um, I get worried when people have all these plans and if they can't follow through on the first movie, they're going to have a very difficult time.
It makes me wonder, like you, is that going to be a problem? Like, is that what we're facing with all of these movies? Like, are we doomed to have super, super bad movies from now on?
We've had super, super bad movies in the past. We've had and I know you like Batman and Robin, but almost everyone agrees that it was a horrible movie. A lot of people think it's comically bad. One of those movies that are so bad it's good, or just so campy it's fun. And I can kind of agree with that. But at the same time, it was a bad movie. It probably the bigger crime is when you have a bad movie that's just boring, which is the case we have in Fantastic Four. At least with the other Fantastic Four, they were kind of campy, kind of cheesy. So, you could kind of laugh a little bit, have a little bit of fun with it. But when we get into these dark, gritty environments where, it's supposed to be real and realistic, you get into this problem where if the movie isn't successful in portraying that, it's just boring. And no one wants to see a boring movie. The biggest crime a movie can have is being just boring. Even a bad movie, a very bad movie, is better than a boring movie.
And that's actually the problem with the Fantastic Four movie, is it is very, very boring.
Yeah. Um. So I very seriously doubt Batman versus Superman is going to be boring. If it is, there is clearly something very, very wrong. But um, I mean, I'm not as worried about Batman versus Superman as I am with Fantastic Four, because we all know that they just made Fantastic Four to try to retain the rights because they were worried about losing them. And there actually is a plan behind DC's universe and DC's movies, so I'm not as worried about it. But at the same time, it could very easily fall into the same trap.
I don't think it's going to, like I have really, really high hopes that it's going to do really, really, really well. But I don't know. I mean, like I had high hopes for Fantastic Four, so
I mean, honestly, what I'm hoping for is that, just like Amazing Spider-Man 2, that it does so horrifically bad that Marvel's just gonna buy the rights back, and if they do that, well then that should fix a lot of problems for a lot of the movies.
I'm honestly, I really hope that Marvel and Fox can figure out what went wrong and can
I'm really hoping they can. I mean, it's just we need people to, put the work in, put the effort in.
see. Really, I think that if they can't figure it out, the Fantastic Four storyline is just going to hemorrhage and then die out. Really, and I don't want to see that happen. Like I want to see, some life spring back, and and then like they can just stand up and like all proud and erect and be like, yes, we made the movie and it works, instead of just it petering out like it seems like it's going to.
I mean, that's what I'm hoping for eventually. It's just that
Hint,
we
hint,
can
Fox.
finally.
Hint, hint, Marvel.
I mean, we've always when we're always hoping that we can get that movie that we always want as fans, and that's sometimes a very difficult task for them to accomplish. But I I don't. I'm just hoping that eventually we can all just the movies can pick the directors they want and they can do what they need to do.
But like really, it it worries me. It really worries me. Like the idea that this franchise is just going to die out. It worries me really. Because there's, I believe I posted it to our Facebook page the other day. Um, there is a movie coming out every couple months, for either DC or Marvel for the next 5 or 6 years. And I kind of wonder
Yeah, I mean
if
those plans
Fantastic
could.
Four is this bad. What are we? I mean, honestly, looking back, particularly at the Marvel movies thus far, uh, like we mentioned a while back, the standalone movies tend to be really bad. But the
I,
first one for each standalone, except maybe Thor, is really good. And the first standalone for the Fantastic Four is really, really bad.
I think if Marvel gets Fantastic Four back, then the they I think they'll eventually do something with it. It's kind of Marvel's baby. It always has been. It's just they've been waiting for it to come back more or less, and I'm hoping that maybe in 5-6 years, after Marvel gets the rights back, and they'll make a great Fantastic Four movie, and we can finally see one of the first families of comics as they're more or less intended to be. And I'm also kind of scared about SpiderMan, um, because I trust Marvel to do great with Spider-Man, but
But
and
see,
we should we
the
well,
problem with Spider-Man is um, when the Tobey Maguire ones were done, those were better, and that
well
was
yeah,
actually
yeah.
Fox involved in that. Now,
Well,
see,
no, that was Sony, I believe. Yeah, Sony owns them.
no. Amazing Spider-Man was Sony. The Tobey Maguire ones were Fox, weren't they?
No, Sony's always owned the rights to Spider-Man.
Are you sure it wasn't 20th Century
Yeah,
Fox?
I'll go double check just to make sure, but I'm
No, like, hang on a second. Like, I'm already looking up just to be sure. But I'm pretty sure that it was. Let me see.
SpiderMan 2002.
But no, like, really, there's hope for Spider-Man, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Spider-Man should be.
Columbia Pictures. Columbia Pictures.
Yeah. I knew it wasn't Fox, but
It was Fox who's done the X-Men. Now, for all the faults in the X-Men franchise, I think Fox has done really, really good with it.
I'm more skeptical about how Fox has done with X-Men. I think there's a lot that's wrong with X-Men and a lot that they've done that's wrong with it. X-Men 2 was bad to me. X-Men 3 was bad to me. X-Men Origins were all very bad. The Wolverine movie was bad. To me, Fox has done more bad than movies than good movies with the X-Men movies.
Well, see, like, for everything that's wrong with the X-Men movies, I do think there's a lot that's done right. And honestly, in retrospect, I really can't decide if another studio would have been able to do better. Now it's taken nearly 20 years, but they've managed to, like, particularly with having the younger cast members and them being back in time, they've kind of corrected all the problems. So I'm wondering, just like I mentioned in the episode, the Fantastic Four review yesterday, supposedly the initial two movies exist in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well as this Fantastic Four. So does that mean, all the Spider-Man movies exist as well, and like Ang Lee's version of the Hulk and everything else? Does that all exist too? And is there going to be some kind of resolution, like some huge resolution to that somewhere along the lines? And
I doubt they're gonna go with that. I mean they could, of course. We've seen, especially in comics, where they'll cross universes, cross stories. But in general, I tend to think of all of the different time periods as their own sort of little universe, I guess. And that they're all their own little part. They're all their own little thing, and we're just, we're just here to enjoy each story individually.
see, the reason that I'm kind of hoping that all these other versions actually exist is we know there is the overarching threat of Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. We know that's coming at some point in time. We know we're going to have the Infinity War. So I'm wondering, is all of that going to tie in? Like, is there going to be some major event where
No,
every possible thing that's happened in the MCU going back nearly 30 years now
I really doubt that. I just can't see that as happening. I mean,
but see, if that is Marvel's plan, because we all know they have movies, for at least the next 10, 15 years that are being worked on already. If that's what they're doing, that would be brilliant. That would be brilliant. If for really no other reason than the fact that they could compare the MCU to their comic universe and say, hey, this is what was done on comics, this is what we're done now, and then we're going to restart the whole thing over again, which that they seem to be doing with these little reboots along the way. So who's to say we're not getting the comics just on film?
The problem is, I mean, there's a variety of problems, but um, mostly it would be too complicated for storyline telling, in my opinion. There would just be too much to do, too much to figure out how to tie in all of those stories, and there's so many different stories.
But see, that's why it makes sense, because whenever whenever in the comics, whenever the particular universe you're in gets too complicated, they just redo everything. They reboot it. They start over, which is like why DC is doing the New 52 right now, and I think we're in like Earth 616 for Marvel or
Well,
whatever.
I mean, it would be like trying to put all of the Batman movies together and make sense of all of them and the Dark Knight stories and all of those things. I don't think it would be possible to do it.
I think it might be. It would take a really, really, really long time to do. Like it would take a very long time to connect them. But there is you could at least connect Batman as he will be in Dawn of Justice with the Christian Bale one. Now the reason I'm saying this is there is a connecting factor there. It's actually not now we know in the Christian Bale ones Batman's retired, but we know in Dawn of Justice that he's been being Batman for some time. So who's to say that this is not the same Batman, and he's decided, at some point in time to come out of retirement, or he's just not as active as he was, which you saw for like 8 years in the Dark Knight trilogy. So let's say, theoretically, we're going to say that Ben Affleck is now taking over the mantle from Christian Bale. Okay, so he's been being Batman for a while. He's been focusing on real life, and there's definitely people out there who know who he is. He's like, so let's say he's being taunted by the League of Shadows, because the League of Shadows has not really ever been destroyed. Now, Talia al Ghul is taken out, Ra's al Ghul is taken out, Bane's taken out, and so on and so on and so on. But you never see what happened to Jonathan Crane and several others. So we know there's still a possibility there. Now, the genuine connecting factor here is Robin. At the end of Dark Knight Rises, you had the scene where John Blake goes into the Wayne building and he's handed the bag, and the woman says, "You should use your real name. I like it." And she says, "Robin." And he goes into the Batcave. Well, in Dawn of Justice, you have the scene where Batman, Bruce Wayne, is looking at a Robin costume. So we know there has to be a dead bird somewhere. It has to exist. Who's to say it's not Joseph Gordon-Levitt's version of Robin that's actually dead?
I mean, it's possible, but it. And here's another reason I think this would be a bad idea. It's great for fans that have seen all the movies that that have kept up with the history for the decades that's been. But for new fans, younger fans, people that don't keep up as well, I I think it would be too difficult for them to really connect all the dots. And we've already discussed how this is a problem for the Marvel universe. This is probably going to be a problem for the DC universe. Trying to keep up with all these different stories and all these different things.
Well, see, again, we've already discussed this. You're right, but with Marvel, that's why they've added in the little TV series so they can kind of shoehorn these characters in, to their overall universe thing, and that works. Some characters you may only see on TV, so maybe we'll get a TV. Now, see, apparently there is going to be a Batman series. I don't know. I can't confirm it. It was a rumor I heard. So maybe what we're going to see is the Batman series come out at some point in time, and it explains why Robin is dead. That would be cool if that was done. But like I said, what if it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt's Robin? What if it actually is? Like, what if that's just a secret that's been hidden for what 2010, no 13 or 12, whatever it was, so 3, 4, or 5 years now, whatever it is.
It,
And see,
it's certainly possible. I just don't know if it's likely. It would be such an undertaking. It would be, plus you would have to try to get the actors from the old movies. You would have to, get rights to the old movies, things like that. There are so many complications. It's something that's a lot easier to do in comic books, and that's why I don't think we often see it done in movies. In fact, have we ever seen it done in movies? I'm not sure that we have.
yes, actually, it was the example I was going to bring up to show you that it can be done. Uh, Superman Returns was actually a continuation of Christopher Reeve's Superman. It was a different actor, of course.
Well, yeah, but
Hang on, but between Christopher Reeve's last Superman movie and the Brandon Routh movie, there was like 8 years, I think. And of course, Christopher Reeve passed away. That was horrible. But they did Superman Returns, and they said Superman had just been gone for a while, and he came back, and the whole reason everyone looks differently was because time there was a certain amount of time in between movie A, movie B, and people had just kind of forgotten what they looked like that was kind of the hinted at reasoning there. So
yeah, but Superman Returns was not a great movie. In fact, I
no,
believe it was considered one of the worst movies.
it actually is, being honest. But at the same time, it does go to show you that yes, you can connect
You
two actors
can,
from
but
two separate movies.
we've never seen it done well. That's what I'm saying.
Well, see, here's the thing. Like, there's one example I hesitate to use here because this has nothing to do with this, but Doctor Who. When they have an actor who wants to quit or whatever, or when they decide, hey, we can't think of any more ideas for this individual to do, they have the Doctor die off, and then he regenerates into a new, until where you see the new actor. That's been done for 50 years now. So who's
True.
to say we can't just have a character, become someone else? Sort of like James Bond, like that. That's why the idea is that James Bond is actually just a code name for a for a specific individual, and that's why the code names, like Q and whatnot, have not changed all these years, but it's different people. And if that's the explanation for it, that works. That really does work.
I've
Um,
always felt that James Bond was simply a code name. It always made the most sense to me.
it does. It really makes sense. But see, here's the other thing about this. Let's say that what we're seeing, is generally passing of the mantle, for like, let's say Batman to Batman. Okay, now we know in the comics and on TV, we had Terry, who was trained by Bruce Wayne after he had retired. And Bruce Wayne, like the whole reason he takes these sidekicks is to train them. That was the reason that he had Dick Grayson. That was the reason he had Jason Todd. That's the reason he had Tim Drake. That was the reason he had every other Robin he's ever had.
Yeah.
So let's just say that there really is no Bruce Wayne. Like, let's just remove that idea here, and let's just
Well,
say
that one, I think it's more difficult to kind of do that.
it is it's really difficult, but
I'm just not sure how that one's too hard for me to grasp the concept that Bruce Wayne is simply a name given to or held by whoever is Batman.
we'll see. Here's the reason why I think it sort of makes sense. Clark Kent can put on glasses and no one recognizes him.
Yeah, but
There
we're
is a serious sense of suspension of disbelief that takes place in these stories. So let's just say somehow the world forgets what Bruce Wayne looks like. So, Bruce Wayne, once he's too beaten up, too old, too tired, whatever, what if he just passes along his name and his fortune to everybody and everyone's like, whatever, because they don't have that problem like we do in the real world. Like, for example, with The Walking Dead. They don't have zombie movies in The Walking Dead, but they clearly understand you have to shoot them in the head to kill them. Like everything is there from zombie movies. They just don't call them zombies. It also makes me wonder, uh, for example, with uh, Man of Steel, how did young Clark Kent get the idea to tie on, his mother's bed sheet or whatever, and run around the yard and then do a superhero pose? Where did that idea come from? There's also the fact that in the Deadpool movie, and this is in the trailer, you can see this, they have already basically said that Deadpool will be a meta series. Now, he may not break the fourth wall and actually address the audience, but there are hints there for the audience to pick up on, like The Room. I cannot remember this woman's name, I'm sorry, but the older woman who's blind, who tells him, the trailer, that he sounds like he has a dick in his mouth. If you look around the room, you'll see not one, but two Deadpool toys. They're in the room with her. Who's to say that in this universe, like I said, there is just not some massive suspension of disbelief and these characters just don't simply pass on, you know, just their superhero identity, but their actual identity.
I mean, anything is possible, of course. However, just the the ridiculous of that is just too much for me to buy into. It would break my suspension of disbelief. If I saw that in a movie, I would just it would not fly for me. I need something to be at least plausible in my mind in order to to buy it.
You're like
And
me. You need some tangible evidence there.
yeah,
For example, tangible evidence that Danny will be here next week.
come
Like
on,
she was
Danny.
supposed to be
We
this
miss
week.
you. Danny, where are you? We need you.
She's she's on the beach right
Well,
now.
at
I'm
least bring
told.
us to the beach with you. That is the least you could do.
But yeah, she's at the beach staring at the ocean, getting some sun. Can't knock her for it. I would
I
probably go to. But
I
yeah,
could use some sun. I'm just saying.
I think we all could. But anyway, we're just over an hour right now. So I think that's gonna be it this week. Um Next week, I dare say Danny will be here. If she is, we'll actually be doing two shows in one. Now, I don't mean we're going to do two separate weeks of topics or anything like that. We always could, you never know. But there will be uh, two different versions of the show. There will be the live version, and then there will be the recorded version. The live version is actually going to be streamed by Danny. She's already promised the next time she's on, she's going to do that. So if you want to watch us live and you want to see animations and stuff on the screen, that's the time to watch.
Do it
And
live.
yes, fuck it, we'll do it live. So yeah, actually that ties in directly. Um, we're gonna have that, and then yeah, that does work. Yeah, fuck it, we'll do it live. You know, maybe from now on we'll start having actual stream shows. Uh, but assuming she's here, we're gonna do the cartoon show, and then the episode after that, maybe next week. I don't know. I'm not sure. Depending on when he gets back to me, we'll have the toy episode coming up soon, and it'll be cool.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely things to look forward to, everybody, including
A lot of stuff
Danny,
to look forward to.
including Danny. Danny, please come back to us. Come back. Anyways, yeah. So, let's see. I guess this is goodbye, everybody, for now. Hopefully, X-Men sucks. Hopefully, all the Marvel things that everyone else owns sucks, so that Marvel can buy everything back finally. That's what I would like. Anyways, goodbye, everyone.
Yep. Goodbye. Thank you for listening. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, like us on Facebook. Tell Nick how much you hate him. Yeah, that's it. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.
Bye.